watching Fox Local.
We begin with a Fox 10 News alert this morning. An investigation underway after an early morning fire at 35th Avenue and Indian School. Crews say when they arrived on scene, they found smoke coming from a second-floor apartment. Crews were able to quickly put that fire out and keep it from spreading to other units. The apartment under renovation. Crews are now working to determine the cause of the flames.
And Battleground Arizona and the high-profile visits will keep on coming this weekend as Arizona votes in the 2024 election.
Vice presidential candidates from both major political parties will be returning to our state over the weekend. Minnesota Governor and Democratic Vice Presidential nominee Tim Walz will host a rally in the High Country in Flagstaff tomorrow, then head to southern Arizona and Tucson later in the day. Times for both events have not yet been released. This will be Walz's 5th trip to Arizona since being named Kamala Harris' running mate. And
on the Republican side, Vice Presidential nominee J.D. Vance will make his 5th stop in Arizona tomorrow since being named Trump's running mate. The Ohio senator is holding a rally at Dillon Precision, that's near Greenway and Hayden and Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard in Scottsdale. Doors will open right around 11:30 and Vance is set to speak right around 1:30. You can register to attend on the Trump campaign website. And those visits coming just one day after former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris made stops here in the Valley as well.
Yeah, it was a big day on Thursday. Arizona, a key swing state with 11 electoral votes up for grabs, leading the candidates to nearly cross paths. Former President Donald Trump was a guest at Tucker Carlson's live tour stop in Glendale at Desert Diamond Arena. Trump has made several visits to Arizona, and then last night was his 3rd appearance in the Grand Canyon state in the month of October alone. He previously held rallies in Prescott Valley and in Tempe. A big crowd on hand to hear what he had to share during the event.
I happen to think that the border is the single biggest issue. I think the border is a bigger issue than inflation. Inflation is destroying, and it's a country buster. You know, inflation, it's broken up many countries, including Germany from many years ago. You look at where there was this was the biggest inflation and the worst inflation we've ever had.
Well, earlier in the day, Vice President Kamala Harris held a rally at Talking Stick Resort Amphitheater in Phoenix. Her rally focused on the Latino vote and featured a performance by legendary regional Mexican band Los Tigres del Norte. In both English and Spanish, Harris promised to be a president for all Americans.
I will give a middle-class tax cut to over 100 million Americans. I will enact the first ever federal ban on corporate price gouging on groceries. I will fight to make sure that hard-working Americans can actually afford a place to live. Sí se puede, sí. Sí se puede.
There's a little bit of Spanish there at the very end.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
Okay. Harris and Trump both expected to continue touring through swing states ahead of Election Day. Question is whether or not when they were both on the Loop 101, if they gave each other the side eye. Not sure yet. We're kind of looking into that this morning. At this time, neither is scheduled to return to Arizona before Election Day on Tuesday. In these final days of the race, the Harris and Trump campaigns, they really are struggling to close a persistent gap.
Yeah, that gap is the gender gap. That's what we're talking about here. Broadly speaking, Donald Trump has a big lead with men, while Kamala Harris does much better with women. So a Fox poll shows that Harris up 8 points with women. Trump is ahead with men by 12 points. And whatever the outcome next week, we may be in for a long wait to get the results of the election, depending on the state. Much of it depends on the early voting turnout and when those ballots will be counted. And as voters decide, we have new developments with the Arizona voter registration error.
Ron is in the control room with more on this big ruling from the Arizona Supreme Court. Ron.
Yeah, this legal battle's kind of been going back and forth for weeks, you guys. The Supreme Court did decide that the state of Arizona should publicly release the names of the 216,000 voters who are allowed to vote but who never provided proof of citizenship. The suit stems from an error in the Motor Vehicle Division database that marked those who acquired an Arizona license before the year 1996 as having provided proof of citizenship. But a GOP DNC-backed group sued for the list, so those without proper proof could be removed from voter rolls. The judge did agree, saying that despite the political undertones, the names are public record. So we spoke with the Secretary of State, Adrian Fontes, who plans to appeal the ruling.
We put information out there, specifically this close to the election. We don't want any voters being harassed or intimidated, and there's a real chance that that might possibly happen. I think the judge was wrong, and we're going to appeal.
Now, the state Supreme Court ruled that those impacted by the error will still be allowed to vote in all races this year, that it's not their fault, it's really the MVD's fault. So the Secretary of State's office has reached out to many people to confirm their citizenship. Governor Hobbs has ordered an audit of MVD voter rolls and registration related to the issue. So we've got much more with Secretary Fontes on our regarding this Supreme Court ruling, and that's all on our website, guys, which is a great one. We have plenty of political coverage there as well. Fox10Phoenix.com.
Yes, Ron, I'm glad you mentioned that. With the election day on Tuesday, today is officially the last day of in-person early voting across Arizona.
Yeah, the Maricopa County Recorder says well over 1 million ballots have already been returned in Maricopa County alone. And while the in-person early voting is set to end today, many will remain open tomorrow and on Monday for emergency early voting or for voters experiencing an issue that prevents them from casting a ballot on Election Day itself. So you can check with your county recorder's office for locations and times, and you can find much more on our website. As Ron just mentioned, it is a wealth of knowledge, especially for all this information about voting. Head on over to fox10phoenix.com.
And if you plan to get out on this final day of early voting, keep in mind you may encounter some lines, not just in Maricopa County. Our producer Jeff, he stopped by a Pinal County library in Santan Valley yesterday, says there was a long line of early voters and a line of cars with voters dropping their ballots in the ballot drop box. So you can still, if you have an early ballot, do not put it in the mail. It will not make it in time, but you can drop it off at those early voting centers, and we have a link to all that information on our website.
And of course, Fox 10 is your home for Election Day coverage. We'll have live coverage all day before the polls close, starting at 4:30 a.m. and then beginning again at 8 p.m. We will carry live election results as they come in on both Fox 10 and Fox 10 Extra on our YouTube page, as well as the Fox local app. So we have got you covered next Tuesday. All right, Arizona voters said yes to legalizing marijuana for recreational use back in 2020. And now, nearly 4 years later, there's a big change on how people can get that marijuana.
So starting at 9 a.m. this morning, Arizona residents can now have marijuana products delivered from the dispensary right to your door. The service was previously only available for medical marijuana patients, but now the Arizona Department of Health Services is expanding marijuana delivery to anyone 21 and older. It is expected to expand both business and access for the industry. There are safety measures in place as well as verification to make sure those ordering are of legal age.
Well, happening tomorrow, a grand opening celebration for the Painted Sky Park. It's being held in Apache Junction. We first showed you this 16-acre facility back in September as they were kind of finishing it up. It has an adventure playground with a climbing wall, a catch and release fishing lake, and a dog park. Now, tomorrow's celebration is going to be from 1 until 5 with live entertainment, food trucks, and the best part, a dog fashion show.
Oh, sweet.
The park is the first of 3 public parks to open in the Blossom Rock community in South Apache Junction. That is absolutely gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah, cool name too, Painted Sky.
The Fox 10 exclusive that we're going to tell you about this morning. We are hearing from a family member of the woman that was murdered allegedly by her own 18-year-old son.
Well, police say 38-year-old Mary Collier was found dead by a jogger in Santan Valley yesterday morning. The investigation included a fake kidnapping call made by her son. Fox 10 spoke to her niece, who says Collier was the caretaker in their family, putting everyone else's needs before her own.
I'm sure that if I could have heard her last words, it would have been about her family, about the people that she loved, and that's the kind of person that she was. She was such an incredible human being. And
oh, wow. Well, the family is now working on funeral arrangements. In the meantime, they have now set up a GoFundMe page We have that link on our website at fox10phoenix.com.
And we're learning more about a deadly shooting investigation in South Phoenix from yesterday morning. Police say the teenage victim was shot in a neighborhood near 7th Street and Baseline on Wednesday night. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect or the events leading up to the shooting are still unknown, so anyone with information is asked to call Silent Witness, that number 480-WITNESS.
4 houses catch fire in Yavapai County, forcing an entire Paulden neighborhood out of their home. Take a look here at the images from the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office. It was quite the scene. Crews were able to get the flames under control pretty quickly. 2 of the houses were destroyed by the flames, and you can see they were just ravaging this property. 2 others were damaged. The extent is not clear. Homeowners in Phoenix can now be paid to remove their grass lawns.
Yeah, the program started just this week. It gives residents $2 per square foot of grass removed and replaced with drought-tolerant landscaping. So to qualify, you must be a Phoenix Water Services customer and must be planning to remove at least 250 square feet of living grass. Applications must be approved by the city before work begins.
Northern Arizona, the Amtrak station along State Route 66 in Flagstaff about to get some new improvements. Flagstaff awarded nearly $5 million in federal funding for a new accessibility project. The funds will be used to rebuild the train station's northern platform and to add a second platform. It is not yet clear when work will be completed. Now let's get to some of your business headlines.
The Biden administration wants to make it easier for you to change your bank. The new rule will make it easier for competitors to access personal data on financial products like loans, as well as transfer transaction history, checking account data, and upcoming bill information for free. It also gives consumers more choices and lower rates on some services. The rule goes into effect in 2026, but it is already facing a lawsuit from some banking associations.
Weekend closure. I-17 southbound will be closed Peoria to Dunlap. Not a huge closure, but if you take that as part of your commute, it's going to affect you from 10 p.m. tonight all the way through 4 a.m. Monday morning. Further up north, southbound I-17 narrowed from the 74 to Loop 303. The times are going to vary. ADOT's going to be making some changes. Just pay attention to the signs out there. I-10 westbound narrowed, Loop 202 to Elliott Road, 10 p.m. Saturday to 4 a.m. Monday. Loop 202 eastbound will be closed completely from Loop 101 to Alma School. This is an interesting one, 12:01 a.m. to noon on Sunday, so half-day closure for you. If you have any questions, you missed any of that, all you have to do is scan that QR code, and it'll all be right there for you.